Alright guys, so here it is. I got the Airdog 165.5G. I'm gonna do a little unboxing on it. I mean, I'm sure there's 100 of these online, but here it is. So of course you're gonna get your warranty paperwork. They say that you can do this online now. I'm probably gonna do that just because I don't want to get this lost in the mail or anything like that, and then I'll just hold on to it in case I need it down the road. Let's see. So you got the instruction manual here, and you know there's a lot of videos on how to install these on YouTube, and I mean I've watched just about every one of them. It doesn't really change much for the 01 to 2010s. I know that the later models, I believe, is when the body change happened in 07 to 08, that body style. I believe the connector is actually different. Instead of you having to use a fuel line tool, I believe all you have to do is just flip a little red piece and move it out of the way. And then you got all your hose, 1/2 inch. And I actually went to a local hydraulics store and I got some of this, it's a fabric sleeve. I got this one. It's a little bit bigger than the 1/2 inch. They have one that would have fit the 1/2 inch snugly. I just didn't like the way that looked. And you know, I've spoke with Airdog directly about it. They said that this hose is of good enough quality and thickness that you shouldn't need anything like that, but just for my own, you know, warm and fuzzy feeling, I decided to go ahead and get it anyway. Then you got your little wiring harness, and this is different from the older versions. I believe they took some wires out of it, and I mean it looks like it's good quality. It's got a good wire loom on it. I don't see any issues with it at all. So you got your sandwich plate, which, you know, looking at these online, they look a lot bigger than this whenever you watch the videos of people installing them. But I mean, they're really not very big at all. And they've got a nice powder coat finish on them. I thought about blasting them and redoing the powder coat in a different color, but I was like, heck, it's underneath the truck. No reason to draw attention to it. And then there's the pump, which, heck, you know, this thing here isn't nearly as big as it looks like on the cameras either. You know, cameras make everything look bigger, I guess. But I mean, yeah, it's nice quality. Filters feel a lot smaller than they look on camera as well. I mean, I'm really surprised at it. It's got a good weight to it. I believe this is going to be all the hose connections and all the little ins and out things. Just really trying to go through it, make sure I've got everything and there's nothing missing. And then again, they harp on it pretty good, but you got a flow in here with the arrow. You want to make sure that goes down to the tank. You know, and these metal fittings are aluminum, so you want to be real careful with those. I mean, they're not going to just all out break real easy, but you also don't want to put too much excessive force on them. And here's the little it'd be a spacer for between your mounting bracket, the sandwich plates, and the bracket for holding the pump on itself. And I mean, it's plastic, but they say it's like a type of polymer or something like that. I don't know exactly, I can't remember, but I mean, it looks like it's sturdy enough, and I mean, it's gonna have quite a bit of force protection here. I mean, there shouldn't be really any issues with that standing up. You know, I mean, it's underneath the truck, out of the sunlight. I'm going to be mounting this on the inside of the frame rails because I don't really care to be able to look under there and see filters and everything, and the public being able to see them as well. But I mean, it looks good. Got all the hardware, which I'm about to get to putting most of this together, what I can. All right, guys. So I went over. I grabbed the tools we needed just for putting this onto the mounting bracket here tomorrow. So what you're going to need is a 3/16 Allen. There's the unboxing, and a 7/16 ratchet wrench. I mean, really, just whatever you can get your hands on for that. So I'm going to start off by just taking the filters off here. Alright, so you'll want to make sure that you have this thing set up in the direction that you're wanting it to sit under the truck, which with the way I'm going to have it, I'm going to want it to sit just like this up underneath the frame rail of the driver's side. So this is exactly how I'm going to want it. So I'm just going to take it, roll it back here, and then start getting some bolts in it. Let's get these snug down on here. Okay. Go ahead and make sure they're still snug. Oh yeah. That looks good to me. Okay, flip this thing around. Put these filters back on just so that no junk gets down in them. Because tomorrow, whenever I go to put this on the truck, I will remove these. But like I said, I just don't want dirt or any other debris to get into the pump or into my filters. Alright, hey guys, here we are the next day, about to get ready to start putting this thing on. Had to go to the store today to Lowe's and get a set of hose cutters. I was going to cut it with razor blade, but I wanted the thing to come out good and have a clean cut, and I wasn't sure I'd be able to do that with just a box blade. So I went out there, got underneath the truck and measured out where I was wanting this plate to sit. And I'm trying to get it up as high as I can. So the highest one I can go to is the third hole down, and that's going to match up with my top two holes. And then remember that the bolts for this, they've got a shoulder on it, and that's to fit perfectly right into those holes. So whenever you put this on, you want to make sure you do it that way. And don't forget the plastic spacer. Yeah, so that's going to be the same size wrench for the top, these top ones, as it is for these here, which is a 3/16. And then I need to get one for these, which I don't remember right off the top of my head what size that was. Looks like a 13 will fit it just fine. Alright, so we got the frame plate on. Now all we got to do is go put it on the truck and then start getting ready to plumb everything in. Alright guys, so I got a little ahead of myself there, and I forgot to take and put these pieces in first. I don't want to do it under the truck, so I figured I'd go ahead and get them done here. And Airdog recommends that you use just a little bit of motor oil. I've got some 10W40 Yama lube, and they just say just to put a little bit on there just to kind of lubricate the threads and the O-ring. And you don't have to torque these down real hard. It is made of aluminum, so I mean they will break easily if you over torque them. I believe a 19mm end wrench will work for them. I don't have one that size, So I just got a little adjustable wrench, and like I said, these don't have to be torqued down real snug. I mean, that right there should be fine. Should be plenty. And then you'll notice on this side, we've got two different sizes. The bigger side, I believe, goes out to the truck, and then this one here goes back to the fuel tank, which is I believe a 3/8 hose. It'll connect back into the fuel tank fill up tube. And there is a little bit of fluid that's inside of these connections. They said it's some sort of a testing fluid they use just to test the pump before it leaves the factory. And the smaller one is actually a 9/16. And I do have one of those, so I'll use it. And something I just noticed is right here you've got an R, and that would mean for return. So, but there they are, hooked up. Like I said, I just barely snugged them on there. That way they won't break. And if they do leak, I'll come back and snug them up. Alright guys, here's where I decided to take and put the backing plate, which there's a bolt here in the way. There's this in the way, so you got to go up behind it. But then also on this side, that bolt is right here. So, I mean, that would have been too close to this cross member and to all of the hosing and everything there. I'm going to have to watch out for this brake line up here as well. I think I'm just going to take and pull it back this way and slide the other plate up under there. I think that's going to be about the best course of action. I wish I could move this thing down a little bit more, but right here there's this brace in the way, and I don't want it all the way up there, because then it'll be into another problem. But that's where it is. I'm gonna get to it. Alright guys, so I got it on there. I went ahead and put the filters back on just to keep any dirt and stuff from flying up in there while I go to removing this hose up here and plugging everything into it. So you are going to need a 1/2 inch fuel line remover tool. This is just a cheap one off of Amazon. I got it in a big kit. I think it was like 20 or 30 bucks. Hopefully it works. We'll see, I guess. Okay guys, so yeah, that was a pain to get that one off. Hopefully that one up top's not nearly as hard, but we'll see. Which, I don't know if you could see it in the video, but what I had to do is I had to take and push the hose up further this way and then take and insert that piece in. Otherwise it wasn't going to unlock it. And then once I did that, the thing just popped right loose. Alright guys, that sucked. That was no fun getting that top one out either. I wasn't able to video it because I'm just barely wedged in between the drive shaft and the exhaust pipe. But I've got an extended cab 02 Silverado, and the hose runs alongside this one here, up in between this bracing and the tank. and then it goes right up into here. This metal piece here, I had to bend it down. It goes straight up, but otherwise my fat arm wasn't going to fit up underneath there to get that one off, which it came off a lot easier than the other one. It was just a chore trying to get up there into it. All right, guys, so I'm going to take and we're going to oil up the shank, and then I'm going to put a little bit of oil down into the hole as well. And this is to help it slide on a little easier. They say once you start pushing on this thing that you want to go ahead and you want to push it all the way on, because if you don't, then it's probably going to lock up about part of the way through. So just find you a good flat surface and then just push it all the way on. Yep. So I believe that's all the way seated. It's past both of the little barb pieces, which, I mean, it could stand to go on just a little more, but that looks pretty good. I'll try it. Yeah. So you're pretty much not going to get that thing to move any further. Alright, so we got the top one connected on. Now I'm just going to take and we're going to size this hose up to fit on to this connection here. And I'm going to cut it, but before I put that connection on, I'm going to take and cut my hose protection fabric and put it over the hose. And then I'm going to add on the connection. So I ended up getting the other hoses on along with the hose protectors. Next, I'm going to take and cut about right here in this area on the fill up tube. And remember with this thing that you have a arrow pointing towards the tank, because if you look in there, it's got a little diverter that's going to make sure the fluid goes down into the tank instead of shooting up at you if you've got the gas cap off. Alright guys, so I got it cut. You want to be sure to not cut this tube whenever you're cutting the big tube. And then I noticed that there is this smaller tube on the inside here. I'm not 100% sure what that's for, but I'm going to take and try to center it up in the T that I'm going to put on here, and hopefully that will be all right and there won't be any issues. And remember to put the hose clamps on before you put the T in, otherwise you'll have a hard time getting them on. You'll have to unwind them completely and then wrap them around it. Alright guys, so there it is. I got it put on, and I put these on this side just so that I would have room to get up there with my little impact hammer. And these are a 5/16 nut size, or you can go with a Phillip or a flat blade screwdriver, whichever you'd like. I went ahead and put this to where it was pointing down. Alright, so all the hoses are hooked up. So I went ahead, routed the return line over the frame rail, and then along here up on top of this here body mount area. and then back around up, and then I just did a little loop there. And then this is the one going to the truck, which is from here. So flip that one around like that, and yeah, so I'm gonna take and zip tie everything up, make it clean, then I'm gonna run the wire. Alright guys, so I got the fuse panel off, and it's a little different than most of the videos I've seen online. And I've tested it in this fuse 3 and 4 right here. These two, they're off whenever the key's off, and then they're on when the key is on, and it's going to be this 15 and this 10 amp right here. I'm probably going to go on to this 10 amp. Alright, so for fishing this wire out, I just took and put a little notch right here. And I just used a pocket knife, scraped it out, and then I just hold it in place like that while I put the lid on. The lid does have this little groove here that will go down around this. I've already test fit it. That right there works. I went down maybe 1/8 of an inch to 1/4 of an inch, so it ought to work for y'all. All right guys, so I got this thing wired up. I got the excess wire just kind of cooled up here. I'll clean it up eventually, and I'm gonna take and shorten up some of the wires. And then over here, this is the power wire and the ground wire. So I brought it here to the back side of the alternator. So right here, this is going to be an E8, which is reverse Torx. And then the one on the back of the alternator is going to be a 10 millimeter. And that's what it takes to get that on there. Like I said, I'm going to try to clean this all up, get it looking better. It's really late in the day, and it's been a hot son of a gun here in Oklahoma. So I'm just trying to get this thing done to where the truck's running, and we're about to see if it'll start. All right guys, it started right up, no problems. I am thrilled with this thing, but y'all have to climb under here in a little bit, check all the connections for any leaks. About to take the thing on a test drive.